From the future of flying on a budget to reasons why you might not want to use those headphones they give you, here are 15 secrets airlines don't want you to know. Number 15. The seats are getting smaller. If you consider yourself to be a little bit big bone, then you might not be too happy when you find out that the seats are getting smaller. We're sure that the average flight passenger isn't getting any smaller either, so you have to believe this one is done to save some money in one way or another. The average amount of legroom on a coach flight on Spirit Airlines has reached an all-time low of 28 inches. The width of the seat has also shrunk about an inch, from going 18 inches down to 17. One of the best airlines to go with when it comes to comfortable seating would be JetBlue, who offers 34 inches of legroom and 32-inch seats at the moment, but who knows when that will change. The more passengers on the plane means more money in their pockets. Number 14. Don't walk barefoot. Flight attendants might cringe at the thought of anyone walking around barefoot on the plane. Those carpets have seen many crazy things in the past, and people certainly tend to get sick more often on planes than they would at home. Flight attendants witness everything from blood, vomit, diapers, snot, and other bodily fluids make their way onto the carpet. CSI would have a nightmare trying to figure out anything in these planes if they need to use a DNA test. Number 13. Mysterious odor. Recently, Alaska Airlines suffered a setback when a mysterious odor began to cause people to become uncomfortable, to say the least. Some described it as being a concentrated smell of dirty socks. Ew. The plane was going from San Francisco to New Orleans until the passengers started complaining too much about the smell. That wasn't all though. They described feeling nauseous, having headaches, and difficulty breathing. A hazmat team was called to check out the situation, and they still haven't figured out what it was. Could someone on this flight have just smelled really bad or what? Don't forget to take a shower. Number 12. Old headphones. Next time you get on a plane and want to listen to some music, you should probably consider bringing your own headphones. You might not want to use the ones the airline companies hand out. Those headphones that they hand out on the planes are apparently cleaned and repackaged, making you think you maybe got some new ones. But it's very likely that someone is trying to reuse other ones that have been left on planes. There's probably someone going around the seats and collecting them and then putting them in bags and then selling them to you. Sounds like a ripoff, right? Number 11. Getting bargains. Flight prices go up and down all the time, and experienced travelers can usually spot the best price ticket after following some certain guidelines. According to some online networking websites, there is a special time to buy cheaper tickets. If you look on the websites like Skyscanner, you might even notice that tickets are usually cheaper 7 weeks ahead of your flight on Tuesday afternoons. For whatever reason, this seems to be the best time to get tickets for expensive flights, so you can enjoy places like Hawaii even if you're not a millionaire. The prime booking window tends to be from 3 to 4 weeks after the flight, but others think 54 days in advance is a magic number. Buying too soon in advance will give you peace of mind, but you'll also have to pay an average of $20 more. Number 10. Pack your lunch. Airlines can profit off of selling their crummy food that probably doesn't belong in your mouth anyways. The best solution is simple. Remember back in high school when you used to pack your lunches each day? There is no limit to how much food you can actually bring on a flight, but there are a few restrictions. Your food must be sealed and not unwrapped. This typically means that you can make your own sandwich and get it through TSA. Foodstuffs like beef jerky, Pringles, almonds, trail mix, etc. all make for great snacks while you're on a flight. You should also probably get your own water too after you pass through TSA. Number 9. Stowaway theory. A new theory has emerged as to why the infamous flight MH370 mysteriously disappeared while it was en route to Beijing. An aviation security editor, Philip Baum, believes that the Boeing 777 was sabotaged by a stowaway. This word means someone who snuck on the plane without authorization and hid themselves in the wheel well or somewhere in the plane where passengers don't typically go. Over 100 people have attempted stowaways by disguising themselves as officials or cleaners. Critics still call this theory imprecise and ambiguous and still think there's some kind of cover-up going on. What do you believe? Number 8. Legroom regulation? As we mentioned before, legroom seems to be disappearing more and more often, and a group known as Flyers' Rights demanded that the FAA regulate legroom for passengers on board, which is currently unregulated. The claim that little to no legroom is harming passenger safety, and something must be done. Another good point that was made suggests that a lack of leg space can actually slow down people during an emergency situation, especially if they can't get off in under 90 seconds. If they win in court, it could set a minimum amount of legroom on each flight, but it also means they might have to sell less tickets. Is it important to have comfort or cheap airfare? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Number 7. Standing seats. Would you be willing to pay half the price for a flight, but in exchange, stand up during the entire thing? Some companies are getting together and trying to solve this ongoing issue with legroom. They might just decide to make us all stand up instead so they can squeeze in even more people. This photo here shows a proposed type of seat idea which will allow people to travel as low budget as possible. Ryanair says more people are open to this idea than you would believe, and in fact, out of 120,000 people, 80,000 said that they would try it out if it meant that their flight was half the price. Legroom would go down on Ryanair as much as 5 inches. They might as well just start stacking people up in piles and putting them in the plane. The world's longest flight. It's possible the airline company does want you to know about this, but you'll be glad we warned you about it. How long do you think you can make it on a flight with no layover or any connecting flights? Singapore Airlines has received many great awards for their airlines, but maybe they're pushing it a tad bit too far with this new flight. A non-stop adventure will cover 10,300 miles during a time span of 18 hours and 45 minutes. This will connect New York City to Eastern Asia like never before. It's set to carry about 161 passengers, which is never easy for the crew. They also have to be able to sleep eventually, right? Imagine your shift going on for 18 hours. Yikes. Number 5. Incognito flight searches. If you're considering about using your personal computer or laptop to purchase your tickets, as most people typically do, there's a little trick that might help ensure that you actually get the cheapest ticket possible. Have you ever searched for flight tickets for a very specific place and then noticed all the ads pop up for traveling there afterwards? Google uses cookies and shows ads based on certain searches, and those flights might increase their price based on how much you search those flights. It's best to search for flights using incognito mode in order to ensure that they're not using cookies against us. Each time you open an incognito search, it refreshes your cookies, so you don't have to worry about it. Some believe that it's just a myth, but with the way Google keeps track of your searches, it probably can't hurt. Number 4. Use search engines. Gain a good understanding of the search engine online will also help you book the cheapest ticket. Some search engine sites for flights will certainly inflate the price in order to make a profit. Websites like Expedia have been known to take advantage of the system in order to get higher cuts. But one of the best sites to use based on our research would be Skyscanner, which seem to have the best prices for the same exact flights. Sites like Google Flights can be used to show which dates might be cheapest to get out of town, but you shouldn't book through it. Number 3. Book your connecting flights. You might notice that some bigger airports have cheaper prices to fly to. Long flights also typically mean layovers somewhere. Let's say you're flying from Canada to Australia. This typically requires a layover in Los Angeles, which might be out of the way, depending on the province. If you purchase separate tickets for the flight from Canada to LA, then another ticket from LA to Australia, it might turn out to be cheaper than connecting all in one flight. Say you want to fly from Montreal to LA, it would be cheaper in some cases to get to Boston somehow by bus or train before spending the extra money to fly over to Montreal. Let us know if you know any travel secrets to get some cash in the comment section. Sites like Kiwi can help show you what places are best to fly into first. Number 2. Safer in the back. First class isn't always the safest class according to statistics. Studies have shown that sitting first class is actually not quite as safe as you might believe. If the plane is doing a nosedive, the cockpit and the first class will hit the ground first, while the back of the plane is normally last to make impact. This gives you a greater chance of surviving. In a British documentary known as The Plane Crash, they purposely crashed a Boeing 747 for experimental reasons. The crash dummies in the back suffered far less damage, and the nose of the plane actually broke off when the bottom of the plane hit the ground first. Anyways, at least you won't feel too jealous about not being in first class when you're the one who makes that alive. This chart here shows the likelihood of surviving a crash. Number 1. Passenger breakdowns. Some of the most ridiculous videos on YouTube come from passenger breakdowns on flights, or people just doing weird things. Hell hath no fury like a scorned woman on Spirit Airlines, aka Motel 6 of the skies. If you haven't seen the video yet, you'll probably know what we mean. There just seems to be something about sitting in a tightly enclosed place, packed like sardines, with other irritable people that just seems to tick people off. The flight this lady was on was diverted during a medical emergency, and the woman demanded to get off the plane. She reportedly had post-traumatic stress disorder from serving in the military, but nothing gives her the right to freak out like that. The man who needed medical attention was in a coma and needed serious assistance. She got her wish though, and she was sent to a mental hospital.